Affordable Cleaning Supplies is a Geelong-based family-owned and operated business that has been involved in the cleaning supplies industry for many years, specialising in the sales and distribution of a large range of quality commercial and domestic cleaning products. Affordable Cleaning Supplies aims to save their customers both time and money. They pride themselves on quality products and exceptional customer service, and their service includes providing a no-obligation, free-of-charge site audit to find best practice procedures for your business, offering a prompt daily delivery service to Geelong and the Surf Coast by utilising their own delivery vehicles, courier services, and Australia Post to provide fast and cost-effective delivery solutions, offering free on-loan dispensing equipment for most of their products, as well as supplying environmentally friendly green options wherever possible. They can even arrange product training for all of your staff. And best of all, they offer a procurement service to find products you are having trouble sourcing. Visit their showroom, which is open to the public at 32A Gordon Avenue in Geelong West, to view an extensive range of products on display. Affordable Cleaning Supplies also has a sister company, Affordable Hospitality, opening soon at 11 Crown Street in South Geelong. Come and see them for all your hospitality equipment and food packaging needs. Give Affordable Cleaning Supplies a call on 1300 650 277 or visit their website at www.affordablecleaningsupplies.com.au. Good evening and a very, very, very warm welcome to you wherever you may be. Thank you for joining us. And it's a very, very big welcome back to the Geelong Region Soccer Show. It has been, it's been a while in the making, and it's great to have your company. My name is Tonci Prusac, and I will be with you over the next 60 minutes, and so too will be my partner in crime, the man, the legend, Steve Curtin. Good evening, Steve. It's great to have your company back on a Monday night, although we were both doing a impromptu, I suppose, encore, what would you want to call it, matinee of the Football Out West show this time last week.
Yeah, that's right. The Football Out West show certainly is the matinee to the main event that is the Geelong Region Soccer Show, and it's good to be back on Monday night and talking about football in the Geelong region again. And we've got a little bit of news to talk about, and I'm sure there's a lot more to come before the year's out. So stay tuned, strap yourselves in for the next hour. It's going to be thrilling content. We've got a couple of very good guests tonight, haven't we?
Oh, we have. Look, we've got two great guests. We're going to pay homage to two outgoing, football identities, local football identities. One of them is the president, or the outgoing president. He's also the inaugural president, or was, I suppose, now past tense, of the Armstrong United Football Club, the famous Pelicans. Michael Parker, someone who's very well known to the show. He'll be joining us a little later on. As will Steve, the coach, the head coach of the Galaxy United senior women's team, ROB CASHA. He has also been a regular on the program in the past. He'll also be joining us, so it'll be a great chance to have a little bit of a chat with both of those gentlemen. But we've also got a lot of news, and also got a bit of an announcement to make regarding next week's program. Folks, we've decided that what we're going to do is, at least for the next 4, possibly 5 weeks, we will be coming out, and that'll take us through to about the mid to late October. And each week we're going to be looking at having a special theme. So we'll be talking a little bit about that and next week's program a little later on in the show. But Steve, I'm going to get you to step away, I suppose, and prepare yourself, because you're going to get ready for the news desk. So, folks, it is a very big pleasure to actually announce that tonight's program is sponsored by Affordable Cleaning Supplies and the Manningham Corporation. So a very, very big thank you indeed to those two organisations. So for all of your cleaning needs, anything you need whatsoever to do with cleaning, whether it be in the hospitality or whether it be in the commercial sector, go and visit Affordable Cleaning Supplies. It's time now for the news desk.
All right, well, let's get started, and we'll start in England, of course, tonight. Last night, just one Premier League game took place. Leeds United hosted Liverpool at Allen Road, and it was a 3-0 win to the visitors. Goals from Mo Salah, Fabinho, and Sadio Mane, who scored in injury time, getting the 3 points there. Good win for Liverpool, and Leeds had Pascal Struijk sent off on 60 minutes, which didn't help their cause. Still one game to play out this weekend in the EPL, which is the Monday night fixture, or Tuesday morning our time, Everton hosting Burnley. That is the last fixture of the match day 4, and we've got some exciting games to come next weekend in match day 5, including Tottenham, Chelsea, and West Ham, Man United. But there's a look at the table there. Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man City making up the top 4. High-flying Brighton there. They're in 5th place at the moment, ahead of London sides Tottenham and West Ham. So there we go. 4 games in. Everton can obviously move up there with a win tonight and leapfrog a couple of those teams ahead of them.
Yeah, it's still early days yet, Steve, but it is a close tussle, as we usually find this time of year anyway. But look, 1 point separating the top 6 teams there. And then if you throw Everton into the mix as well, they're going to be playing overnight. And, a win there could, depending on their goal difference, could thrust them into top spot, or certainly into equal top spot. So a lot of interest there in the top half of the ladder. Let's take a look at the bottom half of the EPL ladder.
Yeah, so Norwich still yet to open their account. Newcastle and Burnley on just the 1 point leads. They're struggling a little bit so far, just on the 2 points. And Arsenal took tiny bit of the pressure off with a win over Norwich on the weekend to get their first points of the season. Also in that space there, Watford, Southampton, Wolves, Aston Villa, and in 11th is Crystal Palace, who had a really good win against Spurs on the weekend.
Yeah, no, so down the bottom, Burnley, Newcastle, Norwich City. Once again, still early days, but yet to register a win, as is the case with Leeds United. Arsenal, with that one win, manages to jump up about 4 or 5 spots. But yeah, as we said, still very, very early days yet. Have we got any of the fixtures for next week? Did you say any of the fixtures there?
Yeah, next weekend, some of the pick of the fixtures, I'll just pick out some of the better ones there. West Ham, Man United on Sunday at 11 o'clock. Good viewing time for us Aussies. And in the middle of the night, there's a London derby, Tottenham and Chelsea. What have we got? Not much else. The good Saturday night fixture time for us in our time zone, Wolves and Brentford at 9:30. So yeah, good to see some of those teams that aren't from the top places doing battle on the ladder as well, playing a bit of exciting football, both of those teams, I'd say. Now that Wolves have started scoring, and Brentford's been pretty exciting in some capacity, at least, since they came out and defeated Arsenal in their debut in the Premier League in round 1. Yeah, that's the match day 5 fixtures there.
Yeah, now moving along now to Serie A.
Talk a bit about Italy last night.
Yes, there were a few games that were played overnight. Let's bring up the results there of the match day 3, Steve.
Yeah, so out of the matches played last night, the early kickoff at 8:30, which was quite good. It was straight after football out west. Sampdoria 2, Inter Milan 2. So Inter were held. They struggled in the heat there in Genoa, finished at 2-2. So that was that was pretty exciting football there. And then there was also wins for Genoa on the road. Torino ended up with a resounding win after a slow start against Salernitana, in the two teams that play in the same colours and almost have the same looking logo. Udinese went to Spezia and got a 1-0 win. Really good win for AC Milan over Lazio. And Roma left it late to get an injury time winner over Sassuolo. There's one more game to be played, Bologna and Verona still to come there. And there's the ladder as it stands after 3 rounds. Roma setting the pace after that crucial injury time winner that sees them in top spot there, ahead of AC Milan and Napoli, who are getting ready for European duties this midweek, as we've got those teams competing in the Champions League and Europa League respectively this week.
The teams that are undefeated in that top half of the Serie A ladder: Inter Milan, Udinese, and Bologna. As we move down to the lower part, and if you're a fan of Juventus, Mario Gregorio and Santino Mamone, who are tuning in, they will certainly not like us mentioning that the great Juve are in 16th spot at the moment, but it is still early days, thankfully for that, and they are no doubt going to make their way further up. But you can't discount the Ronaldo factor. Hey, Steve, I mean, no Ronaldo, Juventus are struggling. And then we see what Cristiano Ronaldo did on the weekend, scoring a double for Manchester United. The man's, love him or hate him, he certainly has got a charisma about him.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, he's moved out of that space now, and they've got who's playing in centre forward now, Alvaro Morata leading the line now. They've still got a pretty decent attack though, has to be said. They should be able to get it together, but they've got a tough one this weekend coming up because their next match is against AC Milan, but it is in Turin, so they'll have the home advantage there, as you can see it on your screen there. That should be a decent fixture. They'll be beamed all around the world, that one. We'll see how we go, and fingers crossed to everyone who's got an interest in that particular match or any of the other matches there in match day 4 next weekend in Serie A.
Inter Milan, Bologna, another game between two undefeated sides, and Udinese and Napoli as well. So a lot of interest definitely there in the Italian Serie A, as we've only gone 3 rounds so far. And look, this is a great time of year for most clubs because everyone sort of is in with the chance. And it's usually kind of, I mentioned this last night on the Football Out West show, it's come around about the Christmas New Year period when things start to go really hectic and the depth of the squads are tested. So early in the season now, even those, I guess, the teams that could be considered also rans, they've still got an opportunity, they've still got a chance. And I guess this is the period when those clubs, the smaller clubs, really need to consistently pick up points and sort of be almost ahead of things. And then when it comes to that crazy festive time of the year or post New Year, when it gets really cold in Europe and the grounds become very, very unpredictable and whatnot, this is the time to be doing well. Moving along to the La Liga in Spain, Steve, what has been going on there?
Yeah, there was 4 games overnight in La Liga, and we'll start with the early game, which saw Atletico Madrid head to Barcelona to face Espanyol, and they got the 2-1 win there. So a good result for Atletico Madrid to keep the pace towards the top end there. And there were some big wins as well for Valencia over Osasuna and Real Madrid over Celta Vigo, while Matty Ryan's team Real Sociedad got a 2-0 win over Cadiz. And
Valencia 4-1 over Osasuna, and Real Madrid 5-2 over Celta Vigo. So the Royal Club jumps to the top of the standings. But look at that, mate. Have a look at that. 3 teams on 10 points apiece. And then I think you've got Barcelona, Sevilla, who have got a game in hand, both on 7 points. So potentially they could also be jumping up there in equal top spots. So, yeah, things are very, very close, even in the Spanish La Liga. So that's good to see, I suppose. Who do you think will do well?
And just checking as well, Matt Ryan did remain on the bench in that one, so he hasn't got his debut yet for Real Sociedad after his injury, but hopefully he'll get into that team soon.
No, that's all right.
Yeah.
Turning attention now to the local competition, or to the local scene, I guess. There's not a lot of on-field football happening, but I guess off the field there's quite a fair bit. And for the wise clubs, the smart clubs, they will start planning for next season now and not going into hibernation. And I guess one of the things that they can certainly do, and I think I want every single club in Geelong to apply for this, because it's important that even if they don't get it this time around, they will be in the system. They will be, ready to go maybe next year, whatever the case may be. But the World Game Fund, Steve, very important for improving football infrastructure.
Yeah, of course. And the application period is now still open and running for that World Game Facilities Fund. It runs until October 27. So that time will come around quick. So if you haven't already, get your skates on and get your applications in for any kind of funding for improvements to your club and make the most of the opportunity. So good opportunity there. It's some funds to be handed out in that particular thing, which is still up and running. It's been going since 2018, and there's still some money left in the kitty, so don't miss out, hey?
No, absolutely not. It really is important. And look, a lot of money has been invested in community facilities, particularly in the Geelong area over the last 5 years. I think it would have to be up there in the vicinity of $10 million, which is, look, let's face it, is only a small drop in the ocean compared to maybe some of the other sports around town. But the more the clubs, apply, the more they get a really good submission handed in. And the more they get, I guess, the way savvy when it comes to applying for these type of things, the more likely they're going to reap rewards in the short to medium term. Absolutely an important.
Right.
And we really need to stress, there are a lot of grants out there, and we implore all the clubs to get out there. And if they're not familiar, if they're not very good at getting grants, there are organisations out there that will help your club to get these grants. So just reach out to Foddy down at Football Victoria. He'll point you in the right direction. But our next guest will be able to tell us a lot about that, because he's been heavily involved in a lot of these type of applications and strategic sort of moves with the clubs, and that is Mike Parker from the outgoing president of Armstrong United Football Club. Steve, what else is happening, Steve?
That's right. I had a couple of other news items just bouncing around the interwebs the last couple of days. Galaxy United, they had a Zoom meeting with Matilda's team manager, Jen Wilmot, and there's a little picture there. And so good of her to offer her time and insights to the juniors, and talk a little bit about what it takes to reach that level to play for the Matildas. So that's really good of her to share her time. And the Matildas have got a game coming up against Ireland next week as well. So look forward to seeing them back on the field again.
A lot of people will know Jen Wilmot. Yeah, a lot of people will remember Jen Wilmot as the young lass from Football Victoria who organised the Soccer Mums program. And there are, I think, about 4 or 5 various programs happening in Geelong at one stage or another. So she's the team manager for the Matildas. And it says there, Jen offered our juniors insights about what it can take to reach a Matilda level. So that was absolutely fantastic. All the best to the Matildas for their clash with Ireland on Wednesday. They are now called, what is it, the Commonwealth Bank Matildas, as a result of sponsorship.
Yep, that's right. It's the head sponsor now, the lead sponsor, the major sponsor.
The major sponsor for the Matildas.
Major sponsor.
And last but not least, mate, lockdown has been lifted.
Yeah, Football Victoria returned to training guidelines, and note that is training and not, unfortunately, return to play guidelines. So only training is permitted, no competition, no spectators at the training unless they're an accompanying adult, and futsal cannot operate with your indoor sports rules still being ruled out. So there's the dot points there. They pretty much speak for themselves, don't they? There's not a lot to get excited about right now, but you can get out and kick the ball with your squad if you feel inclined to. But I think a lot of teams have already packed up stumps for the season.
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure a lot of teams are just saying, look, if we're not going to have a competition, what's the point? There may be a couple of clubs that'll probably just organise a couple of training sessions for some of the juniors just to have a bit of a kick. But I honestly can't see too much of that happening. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if, whether it's the next few days or in the next week or so, that Football Victoria does pull the plug on the winter competition. And then what's going to happen thereafter. Hopefully in a couple of weeks' time, we may even have some information. But if you haven't, folks, subscribe to our YouTube channel, do so. Go onto our Geelong Region Soccer Show YouTube channel. Yeah, and particularly in these days, when there isn't much football happening, go through some of the archives, and see some of the stuff that we've had happening over the last 12 months or even the last 3 years. But there's some interesting interviews from episodes gone by. So do go on to that. And also, folks, if you're not, a lot of people aren't, become a member. Become a member of the Geelong Region Soccer Show. A massive thank you to the members that are the people that are members of our show. It just means that we're able to, in times when we don't have sponsorship, when we don't have sponsors, we're still able to run the program. There are costs involved, ongoing costs, and there is the site just down the bottom, www.patreon.com/Geelong Region Soccer Show. And from as little as $15 a month to as much as $25 a month, not a lot. It's only a little bit of pocket money. You help this program continue in its present format. Steve, well, that does it for the news, doesn't it? We're going to have to take a quick break. When we return, we're going to have our first guest, the outgoing president of the Armstrong United Pelicans. Look forward to that.
Looking forward to it as well.
Welcome back to the Geelong Region Soccer Show, and that is our sister program, the Football Out West show. And geez, what a great episode it was last night, Steve. One of our highest ranking shows as far as viewership. Lots to be talked about. For those of you folk that have not had a chance to watch last night's Football Out West show, we had the president of who did we have on, Steve? Just jog my memory.
We had Nick Golitis, the president of the AAFC, and of course they are the group that's working towards that national second division, that competition that gets all of us excited about what could be. So it was fascinating to hear the latest updates from him. He had a lot to say. He's definitely a good talker, Nick. He had plenty to fill us in on, and still a lot to play out and a lot more questions to be answered, but everything heading in the right direction there at least, and hopefully the momentum can keep going in a sort of a post-lockdown era, that we can keep that going. And of course, we had a couple of guests on before that as well, which was very hastily organised, which was Zach Gruevski, former president of Preston Lions, and the current president of Caroline Springs, George Cross, Mark Sultana, talking about a group of clubs, up to 30 clubs or more, getting together and talking about trying to get some reward for their season that's been effectively null and voided after that was cancelled by Football Victoria. So they're looking to get some reward for their good performances this season. And I guess that might relate almost down to some clubs like Barwon in State 5, who was sitting in second and was in line for promotion as well themselves. And also, as you said, in the women's, I think when we were chatting pre-show in the women's, we've got North Geelong streeting it in their division as well, and no doubt they will get pushed up as part of to fill in some gaps above them anyway, because they've been very good this season, to say the least.
Well, State 2 women's and State which sees our own Lara United in that competition as well, and State 1 Northwest women's. Both those teams have got only one. Both those divisions have got 9 teams, so there'd have to be at least one team that'd have to be pushed up, at least one. And then if you factor promotion, if you were to have promotion, you'd have to have more than one team invited to fill those gaps. But very interesting time. And as you said, Steve, it was very hastily organised for the simple reason is 4:00 yesterday afternoon, they had a Zoom meeting with no less than 30 clubs attending. I think 40 were invited from memory, and 30 attended, and it was hot off the press. So they talked about what needs to be done. I guess they did look at it from the perspective of clubs aiming for promotion and seeking promotion. But I guess there is also obviously the other end of the table as well, the clubs that were probably staring relegation. But Football Victoria did say that, once the season had been frozen, that there's going to be no promotion, no relegation. But that, I'm sure, is not the end of it. So there's a lot more that is going to happen. And those two gentlemen will be back next Sunday on the Football Out West show. They will be talking about the latest developments, because no doubt there is going to be quite a fair bit of negotiating happening throughout the week. But we're also going to hear from an NPL club that was at the other end of the table, and St. Albans Saints football director, Jason Zeri, will be joining us. So that's an exclusive. So Craig Filer, our colleague from the Football Out West show, and he's tuning in tonight. Cheerio, Craig. He's been working very hard behind the scenes to get as many guests, quality guests in this. Well, I suppose it's the off season, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah, it's a long off season, almost as long as the A-League off season, what it feels like anyway. So that's how it is. Yeah, but have we got anyone special waiting in the green room for us right now?
We have, mate. We have. But before we do that, we're actually going. Oopsie daisy. We're going to have a little bit of a clip as an introductory clip. And this, I guess, really will will really capture the type of culture that this club has been creating and has been developing in what the last 5 years of its existence, this first 5 years of its existence. This was taken earlier in the year when the Armstrong United senior men's team in the local league in the Division 1 competition had run out winners over the highly fancied Elko Park Cardinals at Elko Park. This is footage taken from mid-June of this year. And on that note, a very big warm welcome to our next guest. He is now the outgoing president and the inaugural president of the Armstrong United Football Club, Michael Parker. Mick, a very warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us on the Geelong Region Soccer Show. How are you?
Good, mate. Thanks for having me again. And good to be back. Thanks, Steve.
Mike, there's been an outpouring of gratitudes to you since the announcement that you'd be stepping down. You haven't reconsidered it all since then, have you?
No, I did. I mentioned to one of our committee members that it's a bit like reading your own eulogy while you're still alive. But it's very nice. It's very nice that everyone has said so many nice things. But no, unfortunately, a few competing interests and work and family time and all those sort of things that has taken a toll over the last couple of years. So time to put into a bit more of that.
Yeah, mate. First of all, congratulations. By looking at that footage there of the senior men's team, and we've been speaking in the past to as well people from the women's team as well, Leonie Smith as well, and some of the players. It's just it seems to be such a really positive culture. And look, for some clubs, it takes decades to create a certain vibe, a certain culture, a certain camaraderie. But, you guys have managed to do so at the Pelicans. All things considering, it's been kind of a bit of a nomadic existence for the Pelicans in the first few years until now having a permanent home at Pelican Park. But let's go back to the start. I mean, me and you were very close and instrumental in those formative days, but I can't take any of the credit. It was purely you and your team. From your perspective, how did you see the early development, the formative years of the Pelicans before it really took hold of to what it is today?
Well, firstly, I think you're underplaying your role a little bit, mate. You were instrumental in getting everything together. I think I still remember our meeting on a cold midweek night at Warralilly sales office there. But no, it's flown by. It's you talk about culture and these sort of things, and we haven't particularly gone, haven't tried to implement a certain strategy or anything around culture. It's all pretty simple. You just treat people how you want to be treated yourself. So And we've been really, really lucky to be able to attract just good people to the club. We've all been at clubs where you have people, and you get a mix at all sporting clubs. You get a mix of people, but we've been pretty blessed, I think, so far to get a good, just attract good people, both through the juniors and the seniors. The early days was all a bit of a whirlwind, to be honest. The painfulness of getting the club up and running wasn't so bad. I think I remember our first junior training session we held a come and try day, and we had four of us coaches, adults, committee members, and we sort of sat around half an hour beforehand and said, if we can get more players than we've got coaches here, we'd be pretty happy. And I think we had 48 kids rock up. So we quickly realised that we were probably onto something.
And what sort of advice would you have to someone now who's sitting around thinking, oh, I wouldn't mind starting up my own club like, like Mike Parker did down at Armstrong United? What were the lessons you learnt there?
It's a good question. You need a lot of support. It's not, and I guess this is also I've got a lot of positive comments on the Facebook post which you mentioned, but it certainly hasn't been all me. We've got a really good committee. Just get as many good people around you as you can to be able to help drive that vision, because you quickly learn that you can't do it all yourself, and the more you can sort of spread out to others, and none of that, it's always good for every football club to have more than, you don't want just one point of view. You want a mix of views, and you want a mix of opinions and all those sort of things to be able to run a successful football club. There's been times where, I haven't agreed with what we've done or whatever, or certain things that have happened, but that it's always worked out for the best of the club, and you've got to realise sometimes that your opinion is not the be all and the end all. So it's we've been lucky. We're in a growth area, so out at Armstrong Creek, there's plenty of there's always new people coming to the region. There's a nice we've got some pretty good facilities coming out that area, so I would hate to be trying to start a football club that probably isn't in a development area, because it would be a hard slog.
I mean, talking about those formative years, I remember the pride of the Pelicans, the Armstrong United Pelicans, being the front runner for so many things. I mean, before there was an AFL club based in Armstrong United, there was a football club. The cricket club, I remember at one of our meetings, I think it was an info night, two gentlemen, including an old school buddy of mine I hadn't seen in 20 years, turned up, wanted to get ideas and advice from us, the football fraternity, how to go about dealing with the council, how to go about forming their own club. And even though I suppose the Armstrong United Titans, or whatever they're called, the cricket club, they actually hit the ground running before football did, because of, I guess, the virtue of the season. But the fact that they'd come to us looking for advice, and that to me was such a great thing of a club just starting out. But even in the football side of things, the local football community, you've managed to get a real good cooperation happening with some of the clubs in the southern suburbs, have you not?
Yeah, definitely. There can be a bit of a perception that a new club comes in and is trying to take over. We're certainly not. That's never been. We've actually never probably worried, and maybe we haven't worried enough about the other clubs around us. But Barwon and Surf Coast are both probably 5 minutes up either way up the road. But nothing that they do really influences us, and probably vice versa. We want to try and start our own identity. We want to be a club that is, we've all been around the soccer or football scene for a long time. We wanted to be a club that was a bit different and was based on how we wanted to run things and how we thought a football club should run. So, we're really lucky that there's, I'm in a couple of different Facebook chat groups with probably nearly 80% of the other presidents around the league. So there's a lot of information sharing. There's a lot of asking questions. It's not so competitive, so to speak. It's all about for the good of the game.
And is there a particular moment that's special to you, like the first game or the first that first junior come and try day, or anything particular that sticks in your mind where you think, wow, that moment was the moment where we knew that we'd arrived?
Probably that first junior day. The thing I'm probably most proud about, it's not one moment, but a lot of clubs struggle to get women's football up and running, and we've had a women's football team every year we've been in existence, and it's been a real focus. Now we haven't had a lot of success on pitch, but the focus has been to make sure that we as a club support a women's football team, because we want a whole cross-section of people from the community in our club. We want men, we want women, we want juniors, seniors. We are the only club in Armstrong of any sport that has juniors and seniors. And we're the only one who's got a women's team. So we find that, that's probably where my pride sort of lies. I guess the other thing is, they're probably not going to say otherwise to me, but you get a lot of positive feedback from other clubs about what we're doing at Armstrong and how our teams operate and how our players conduct themselves and how we conduct ourselves as a club. So that's always nice to hear and gives a bit of an extra push to keep going.
And it's great to hear stories such as that, and so-called the new kids on the block, and they're not there to take over; they're there to collaborate. And one of the other clubs, the newer clubs in the region, FC Leopold, have similarly done a great job creating a culture down there. And for me personally, one of the most pride-filled moments was when I attended the FC Leopold Armstrong United women's game, the first game for both teams. I remember, Mick, you were there, and I remember seeing Jared and Mitch Viles from FC Leopold, the co-founders of that club, and just the sense of almost, history was being made, I suppose, at a local community level, but just the feeling of everyone was just so happy to be there. It did, yes, there's white line fever, and once the game started, everyone wants to win, but there's a real sense of it's like a movement. We're creating a movement. So that was personally a really good thing to see. Mick, what I wanted to ask is, how's the club travelling now? So, what's the state of affairs with regards to the club? Have you got a succession plan in mind? Have you done an Eddie Maguire style succession plan and got someone ready to take over?
No, not yet. The plan was, our AGM's not until January, so the plan was that we release this fairly early, because I made the decision a month or two ago. I've had a bit of a change in role at work, which is just going to make it really difficult to do both moving forward. So the idea was that instead of waiting until a couple of weeks before the AGM when we announce it, let's announce it now, and we can start generating interest and people can start thinking about the role and where they see they might fit, etc. So there isn't anyone that we've lined up or that is ready to step in. It's more which, to be honest, sits in with our club. I wouldn't really want to handpick someone. Let's see who puts their hand up. Let's see who's the best fit, and get a whole cross section of different people from around the club and the community to see, and then what's best for the club.
It'll be interesting to see. Hopefully, yeah. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah. So you'll be on there until on the committee until January. Is there any other objectives that you wanted to see happen before that time, or is it just a matter of being there for the committee to have that stability until the time when the next person steps up?
Yeah, it's probably just that, keeping things going. The last 2 years have been really hard work with COVID, running a football club. So just getting through. But again, we didn't run it all last year. We've got more numbers this year than we had the previous 2 years. So it's just making sure. I guess my focus for the next few months is making sure that the committee and the club is in as good a position as possible, that when I do step away in January, hopefully. The other thing is our AGM's in January, which is a bit awkward. Season preparations for the season are well underway, so hopefully everything's in place that the new person can step in.
Why is that? Is that just the club's constitution or anything like that? Because normally you'd have the AGM straight after the season finishing, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I don't know. That was just from the way it's done from the start. I'm not sure why or how that worked out. It is part of the constitution, and we probably could change it. But yeah, it's just always been January.
And bringing us up then to the next question, obviously over the last 5 years, and you said yourself you've been involved with other clubs, most notably Drysdale SC as well, but you've seen a lot of changes, I guess. You've seen in those 5 years, highs and lows of what you're not, and as you said, you deal a lot with a lot of the other club presidents as well. Where are we at with soccer in Geelong, or football in Geelong? What the state of affairs at the moment as we see things?
I think we've got a few issues. I think there's a few, and COVID has obviously had an impact. So we're probably not talking in normal times, so to speak, of the end of a season any time in the last probably 50 years. But the women's game has taken a really big hit this year in terms of number of teams and what that competition looks like. So that's a real shame. I don't know. I personally, and this isn't a club view, this is just a personal view, I'm not sure the current community system that we've got works that well for our region. I would like to see Geelong and Geelong clubs have a lot more say in how our competitions are run and how they roll out and those sort of things. So, yeah, I just, we talk about relegation, we talk about promotion, we talk about those sort of things. And there's clubs that are told you have to start in Div 3. We started in Div 3, but then, each year there's a couple of different clubs that seem to jump leagues or drop leagues or whatever, etc. Yeah. There's no consistent approach. So,
seems really higgledy-biggledy, doesn't it, type of thing, like it's almost like every year there's a new set of rules or whatever. There's no consistency. And has that hurt the women's game? I mean, 2-3 years ago or prior to COVID, I think we were on the verge of having 3 women's divisions or something like that, 23, 24 teams. We went down to 13 or something like that. That is a drastic drop. I mean, that you'd have anywhere else, you'd have the alarm bells ringing saying, geez, we've got to do something about this.
And that was, that was our argument. The start of this year, the 3 divisions were planned, and our women's team was looking to play in Division 3, which meant we were playing against teams that were probably going to be a lot more on our, skill level. And so games, we always each year encourage, and we have a lot of new players to the game, players who haven't played before, etc., which we think is really important. Unfortunately, I think it was around February that went to 2 divisions, and then a week and a half before the season start, we're told it's going to be 1 division. And I won't lie, we actually considered pulling out our women's team because, sending out a team of women who haven't played much football together against teams from Div 1, players who played in the NPL, players who played, some pretty impressive football around the place, and we're sending them out against them. I must admit, and that's the sort of thing, I mentioned before, it'd be great if we had some more say in how our competitions are run. We did at a Geelong Region Football Committee have Football Victoria there to discuss the women's Div 1, and I think every club bar one said they wanted 2 divisions. And then we all got an email 2 days later saying it was staying at 1 division. So it would be great that we could have some more input into how these things run.
Yeah, absolutely.
And on that note as well, the local junior competition, what are your thoughts on how that's going at the moment and could be maybe improved in some areas?
We're probably a little bit different. We don't have juniors, so to speak. We've only got mini-roos. It's funny. And we understand why with COVID and those sort of things, but the hub system worked really well for a new club like us because we don't have all the resources and facilities, etc., that we needed. Now it's gone to a home and away, and that's really put a stretch on us this season because suddenly we're hosting games every second weekend, well, every weekend with some teams. And suddenly we need to find the money after a COVID season for under-9s goals, under-7s goals, under-11s goals, whereas normally it's a hub system and they go and they play around the place and the goals are shared, etc. So that's put a bit of a strain. We're looking to have our first under-12s team next year because we've got a number of under-11s kids, which is great. So we'll have our first junior team.
Boys or girls? Or will there be a mix?
Most likely boys. Boys. But again, that's going to put a strain on things as well. We currently share ground with an AFL team. So while that currently works, it's not going to work for long because they're going to get bigger and we're going to get bigger and we're going to push each other out at some point.
Are there provisions in the Armstrong Creek area for the development of football-specific fields? When I say football, soccer-specific fields, because as you said, it is a growing area. I haven't been out there for months, but every time I sort of pop out there, it's like a mushroom. It just goes nuts.
I think there is. I think, and you've probably heard me say this more than anyone, Tonci. I think the last time I checked the development plan, there were 13 AFL ovals planned for our area and not a single soccer pitch. So we're in discussions with City Grade Geelong. We're in discussions, and again, I don't want to harp on it. It'd be great that clubs had a bit more say in these things. Like the regional football facility or whatever it's called now was originally planned for Armstrong Creek. There was a whole lot of work a few years ago done on a strategic plan for that. Suddenly that's all changed again now, and it looks like it's probably not going to happen here. So, it would just be good, to if the work's gone in and that seemed to be the most viable option a few years ago. I'm not sure why that's changed now.
Absolutely. Now, one of the successes, I guess, of the local competition has been the men's competition. I mean, this year there were like 15 teams in Division 3. At one stage we had, I think, 9 in Division 1 and 10 in Division 2, but that then got cut down to 9. Either way, with a few more extra teams, it's quite possible we could have had 4 divisions. And I think when we had you on last, Mick, you were saying that you guys had 44, 45 people between 2 teams. So too much for 2 teams, not enough for 3. But if there was a 4th division, which would be a lot more social, probably attracting more of the mature players, the master players, because you did have a Masters team in the pre-season Summer Masters League, didn't you? Yeah. So would you see something like that, the creation of a 4th men's division locally, actually having that effect of attracting even more players that haven't played for a while back to the game?
Possibly. I think that summer's Masters competition's probably filled that void a little bit now. I know we had a team in that Masters summer competition that went for 10 weeks and probably almost it ended up into the start of the season this year. So it turns it into a fairly long season for those boys that play both. They're sort of basically playing games every weekend from January till, well, in a non-COVID season, September. So that makes it a little bit different. I would love, and I haven't spoken to other clubs about this, I would love to see something similar to Ballarat or something like that, where we have a seniors men's competition and a reserves men's competition and clubs have a seniors and reserves in it. And then maybe there's the possibility for a 3rd division for those that don't quite have enough or whatever. It's a social 3rd division league. Something like that. I just think that would, that sort of club atmosphere and focus would work really well.
And I mean, the beauty thing about, sorry to cut you off, Steve, I was going to say, the beauty thing of having that is you have double headers every time you host the game. You've got a bit of a crowd. You've got the canteen, the tuck shop working. And then, every second week, maybe it's the turn of the women's to stay there or the juniors or whatever the case may be. Sorry,
and the other thing with that, with the current system with 3 divisions, is it makes it really difficult to have 3 teams in, because if you get relegated or promoted, you've suddenly got 2 teams in one division, or not in another, and then a team in the 3rd division or something. So I know we've struggled with our men's division. The gap between Div 1 and Div 3, the 2 teams we've got, is quite high. So I don't know. It might not work, but I think it's something to think about anyway.
Yeah, it would definitely be a good goal to strive for. As you mentioned, both of you guys mentioned, I remember growing up in the Bendigo League, and you'd have every Sunday, you'd have the seniors and reserves for each club. You'd have the youth team in the morning and you'd have the women's team playing. And the amount of people that you would get to the match days, it was a real atmosphere that was something to really enjoy and relish every week. And I remember first coming down to Geelong in 2005-06, playing a bit of local league, and I turn up for a game and there's no one there. It's like, this is a completely different atmosphere, and it's. I think the players can enjoy themselves more when there's so many people there to watch them, and that would be something to strive for, I think, for sure. But sorry, I've gone off topic here, haven't I, Mike? Sorry about that. What's the committee looking like going forward into next year? Do you think most people will stick on and hang around, or do we not know yet?
Yeah, no, I think so. We've got a pretty stable committee, which is great. We've got some new people on the committee this year, which have been great. It's always nice to get some new voices into the committee each year. I guess the challenge we've had as a club is being a brand new club, not only for committee roles, but just, the million jobs that happen around the club, whether that's running the bar or sweeping up the change rooms or whatever. We don't have that set of old past players that are down every week just supporting the club. We don't have that because we're just not that old. So we've been lucky to attract a lot of good people, some from other clubs who have joined over, who live in the area, who want to be involved in our club. And I think the current committee we've got now is really good. We've got a good mix of people. We've got a good mix from representatives from juniors and seniors and women, etc. So they'll look to stick around. We'll just hopefully replace the one position.
Yeah, Dick, you did mention,
and for yourself as well next year. What will your involvement in football be going into 2022?
So I've said I'm stepping down, and I'm happy to do whatever the new presidents want me to do. So as much as they need my support, I'll be there to support them. But my personal opinion is, I don't think because a few people have said to me, "Are you going to stay on the committee?" I don't think it. I think it's always good to have a bit of breathing room between presidents. So I'll probably be in the background, and then if they need me to, run the bar on a Saturday night or something, I'll go and do that. I'll still be down there on the weekends to support the team. So yeah.
Good to see you won't be totally lost to the game or to the club. Finally, Mick, thank you very much once again for joining us here, and we certainly hope it's not the last time. But yeah, you've spoken about a few things that could be improved in the Geelong football community, I suppose. If you found this genie down on the eastern beach, whatever, and rubbed the genie's little lantern, whatever, and you're able to sort of pick 3 wishes that you'd want for the local region, what would they be?
That's a good question.
3 more?
Do they have to be football related?
It's like, of course, that's what the Geelong Region Soccer Show is about.
I would love to see, some the senior men's competition. I think needs to be cleaned up a bit, as in terms of how it's run. I would like to see clubs and the Geelong region have a greater voice in what we do and how our competitions run. And I would love to see, and this is probably the thing that disappointed us most about Football Victoria's decision to go with one league in the women's team. We've lost a heap of players, as you mentioned. We've gone from 24 teams to 13 this year. We've got clubs like ourselves, Leopold, Corio Bay, who all each year bring in a number of new players to the game, and we're not supporting them by putting them in one division and saying, here, go up against girls who have played for years and years. So in a time when I would think we're trying to attract as many new players as possible, it just seems a bit counterproductive. So that would be the other one, is to fix women's football. And to the thing that a bit of a bugbear of mine is, you see AFL everywhere in this town, and not just the Geelong Cats. You see AFL Barwon, you see the GFL, the GDFL, the BFL, all sorts of news articles, all sorts of promotion from the league and the AFL, etc. We don't get any of that. Not just the media, from Football Victoria, from anything. You wouldn't have, I don't think anyone would have known unless you were playing that the season started when it started. So, it would just be good to see a bit of greater focus on that. And I would have thought after last year that would be a focus from Football Victoria, but unfortunately it wasn't. So,
yeah, absolutely. Wise words from a very, very wise man. Thank you so much for joining us and really getting an insight and having a bit of a trip down memory lane and looking at how far the club has come in 5 years. But mate, wish you all the very best. Wishing the Pelicans all the very best for hopefully what will be a full 2022 season COVID-free. That's what I'd
Thanks,
like
mate.
to
on behalf of myself and especially from the club, you guys have been very supportive. So thank you. We do really appreciate it. And from a club point of view, I've no doubt we'll go on to bigger and better things with a new president on board.
Look forward to it. Good on you, mate.
Thanking you, Mike.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Tonci.
Michael Parker from the Armstrong United Pelicans. Always great to have him on. And the caliber of people like Michael is very heavily involved in Read My Play, which is used through mental health, and that's used through a lot of the AFL and the netballers. And it's an organisation in the past we've tried to utilise for football, but just football, we just seem to be more interested in fighting and bickering and looking at the small petty things than actually working off the field together. And Mark Sultana, the president of Caroline Springs, George Cross, who was our guest last night on the Football Out West show, and he's tuning in today, and he says things can change. And I've got to put this comment up. Things can change. That's why 40 clubs have got together to assist all clubs to have a voice. And yet you still have some clubs that kind of say, oh, these clubs are more interested. They're just promotion. They're just interested about themselves. The reality is, often, as is the case, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, as they say. And what people don't realize, and this goes back, Steve, a few years back to the funding side of things, and we talked about the funding for facilities with the World Game Fund. We need to celebrate all achievements. And if we celebrate a club receiving, several $100,000 in funding, we need to celebrate that, not be jealous of that club, because sooner or later, other clubs are going to get, their share of the funding slice. And we've seen it. We've seen it in the northern suburbs in particular over the last 5 years. 5 years ago, a lot of clubs weren't getting a lot of funding from whether it's state government or federal government or local government. But we've seen that change, and through no small effort through councillors such as Eddie Contel and Kylie Grisbeck, who've done a phenomenal job with the clubs themselves. The clubs are learning to play that political game that little bit more, and that's what we got to do. We got to work and collaborate as a movement, and that's what will achieve great things for the sport. Your take?
Oh, I think you've said it all, mate. You've said it very well. So, yeah, exactly. Now, do we have?
To it?
No, unless Rob's not ready to come on. Yeah, I think you've said your piece very well. Yeah, got no further comments. I think you've been very comprehensive, mate.
We're going to take a little bit of a break. When we do return, we've got the outgoing coach or head coach of the Galaxy United senior women's team, ROB CASHA, joining us. Don't go away, folks. We'll be right back. Affordable Cleaning Supplies is a Geelong-based family-owned and operated business that has been involved in the cleaning supplies industry for many years, specialising in the sales and distribution of a large range of quality commercial and domestic cleaning products. Affordable Cleaning Supplies aims to save their customers both time and money. They pride themselves on quality products and exceptional customer service, and their service includes providing a no-obligation, free-of-charge site audit to find best practice procedures for your business, offering a prompt daily delivery service to Geelong and the Surf Coast by utilising their own delivery vehicles, courier services, and Australia Post to provide fast and cost-effective delivery solutions, offering free on-loan dispensing equipment for most of their products, as well as supplying environmentally friendly green options wherever possible. They can even arrange product training for all of your staff. And best of all, they offer a procurement service to find products you are having trouble sourcing. Visit their showroom, which is open to the public at 32A Gordon Avenue in Geelong West, to view an extensive range of products on display. Affordable Cleaning Supplies also has a sister company, Affordable Hospitality, opening soon at 11 Crown Street in South Geelong. Come and see them for all your hospitality equipment and food packaging needs. Give Affordable Cleaning Supplies a call on 1300 650 277 or visit their website at www.affordablecleaningsupplies.com.au. Welcome back to the Geelong Region Soccer Show. Goodness me, where does the time fly? It's already almost an hour, Steve. We just heard from Armstrong United president or the outgoing president, Mike Parker, and we've also had a fairly good news wrap. But we've got our next guest coming on. But geez, the time just seems to fly, doesn't it?
Yeah, we might have to give Rob our apologies. We've got him waiting 20 minutes to come on to the show, but he's going to be joining us in just a second now.
And it is our pleasure to actually introduce our next guest, and it's ROB CASHA, the outgoing head coach of the Galaxy United senior women's team. Rob, thank you very much for joining us here on the Geelong Region Soccer Show.
You're welcome, Tonci. You're welcome, Steve. How are you?
Oh, very well, mate. It would be a lot better if we had some live football action happening, on the fields. But we are where we are, and who knows when we'll see some live local football action. But I guess tonight is an opportunity to sort of have a look back at the year that was, or the last few years, and which brings us to our next point. It's been a tough couple of years that you've had the gig as the head coach of the senior women's team at Galaxy. For more ways than one, but obviously the COVID pandemic hasn't helped things, have they? The stop on again, off again type of schedule.
It's been extremely difficult the past 2 years. With obviously COVID's taken its toll on everyone. I just needed a break, so. I did what I did. So,
go, Steve.
Yeah. Now, moving into the most recent season, the 2021 season, or the parts of it that we got to play, what was it like for the club shifting into the new VPLW competition? How much of a transition and how different was that for the club and you as a coach?
Well, in the first season when we were first put in that league, it didn't really make any difference at all. We prepared as if we were preparing for an NPL season, and we were pushing to see if we could get ourselves promoted. But then once the COVID lockdown happened, we I won't say never really recovered, but it became very difficult to remotivate players in that first season, because you'd go to training and then training would become non-contact, and you know what players are like. They want to compete, they want to work hard. So that got very difficult. And then second season, we thought, good, great, here we go. Prepared everything like last time, got ourselves really ready for a season, got ourselves our first few games in. What we do, we lost 1-2. Then we started to get our injuries and get the season through. We played all the top sides. Then COVID number 2 hit.
Yeah.
And I don't think the players or even myself actually felt that we'd get another game in. So then when we came back, everyone was super excited to play. We came up against 2 very good sides, which, you know, that's no excuse, but was difficult. They were difficult games. And then once we shut down again, that was it. Everyone was cooked.
Now the motivation,
yeah.
Obviously, as you just mentioned, the motivation side of things was difficult for the players and for yourself, really not knowing what was going on. What were some of the things that you as a coach, I guess, explored ways to keep everyone motivated, everyone sort of ticking along and getting that group, keeping that group together? And who were maybe some of the instrumental persons amongst the players that really took a leadership role?
Yeah, we did a lot of online stuff. We did strength and conditioning sessions with our supporters at Breakwater Athletics. Our instructor there, Sonia, put on a strength and conditioning session every Monday, and then we switched to a Tuesday after lockdown number 2. That was fantastic for the girls. And then on a Thursday night, Christy Merry would organise a video yoga, or like last week or the week before, they did a trivia night. So it was just things like that, trying to get everybody motivated. And I'd send players little text messages and give them a call, and just to see how they were travelling, and because some of them live alone. It's not easy. I mean, we have to still understand, they're senior players, but some of them are still 16 years of age. You know, it's a very young team.
I had the pleasure of calling a lot of the games this year, actually, as part of like a freelance commentating gig there, and I was very impressed by some of the younger players. Some of those really young players. You know, unless you actually ask and find out how old they really are, you'd be absolutely surprised, because their maturity on the park absolutely is astounding, is incredible. Some of the girls, a lot of the girls were teenagers, but they were playing like they'd been playing senior football for several quite a long time. So credit to yourself and credit to the coaching team there for being able to to being able to shape some of those girls to really sort of perform, in that sense, like they were far beyond their years.
Sort of an advertisement for the new coach. It's whoever's coming in on board, which was the difficult decision for me to leave, was because those girls, they're ready, they're primed, they're going to be a very good side. Whoever takes them over is being given a side that could potentially be quite strong for, you probably have another year to year and a half of good solid work, but that team could be good for another 4 to 5 years. They're very young. They're half the team. Well, they all drive now, except for 2. But up until this season, none of them even drove to training. There's only 4 girls that drove to training.
Can we get you to just adjust your
Yep.
camera just a little bit, because we're getting you cut off at the nose a bit. So just to lift it up just a little bit. We want to see you pretty good. Yep, that's it. We want to see that.
Oh, looking good.
Yeah,
Look at that.
I've got no video.
Oh, you got no
I can't
video?
actually see you.
Oh, okay.
No.
Oh, right, eh?
Oh, sorry
There
about
you
that.
go. Perfect.
Yeah,
That is
sorry about
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, we
Yeah,
can
so
see you at our
like I
end
was
at least
saying,
anyway.
Yeah, they're very young side, and whoever takes it over, they're inheriting a decent bunch of girls and a very good side. And plus, the girls that are coming through in the under-17s, they'll complement that team unbelievably. And even then, after that, there is a very good under-15s group. Yeah, Galaxy will be good for whoever takes it over. We'll be getting a good group of players and a good club.
Now, and they showed their fitness and durability, a lot of your players, because a lot of them were doubling up and playing 2 games on the one match day. We understand this year. Just how hard was that for the players and you as a coach on some of the occasions this season?
That was one of the hardest mentally draining things I've ever done in my life. That was, and for the players, it was so taxing on their bodies. It was like, I'll give you an example. We're playing at Eltham Redbacks on an artificial pitch, and you're telling your senior starting lineup not to press, not to do what you've naturally told them to do. You're saying not to press, just block, just see the game out. And like you can't. It's very difficult to tell a 16-year-old player who's working hard, wants to win, to back off. So then when we went into the latter stages, we get in to go and play the senior game. We were competitive for the first half, competitive, and then around 20 minutes into the second half, you could really see us starting to wear out. For us, it was like playing footy. We had 4 quarters.
Yeah. I'd noticed that on quite a few occasions, and it was quite visible to see. Yeah, absolutely, just conking out of steam.
I remember that Eltham game. I think that Eltham game, I remember seeing the highlights, and I can't remember who scored the 3rd goal for Galaxy, but I think they almost just about collapsed after putting it in the back of the net. They were that exhausted, scoring late on in the piece.
We were cooked. We were cooked that day, and it was just, for us, it was just sit back, block, park the Mourinho bus, and see it out.
Yeah. Now, look, we understand why that was done, and look, Football Victoria were threatening to basically pull the plug on Galaxy, and if they weren't able to field a reserves team. But look, taking a step back and putting any accusations aside, what is the problem? What is the issue that in the local football community? Our top players don't want to play for Galaxy. What whether it be the juniors, whether it be seniors, what is it? Is it just it struggles with the profile? And I'm talking from firsthand. I've seen sometimes there were 20, 30 people at senior games, which is really sad to see. What is it that Galaxy now, after being around for I don't know how long has been around now, 7, 8 years, still can't seem to attract a following?
That's a difficult one. I've struggled with that myself, trying to work that out. I mean, I selected a completely Geelong centric team, trying to encourage support from other areas, but having COVID years made that not as good as we'd hoped of. But I just think maybe Galaxy's what would you say it? What's the right words to use there? Getting buggered up from the sins of the past. When we first began, which I totally understand, when we first began the club with the very Melbourne-centric senior team. Yeah, I understand that. To compete at high level, we needed the players, and at the time in the region, we didn't have them. Yeah. So yes, we had to bring them in. Then as end of first season, we because I was part of that senior setup as well. Then when in the second season we'd started to incorporate our Geelong group. You had your Caitlin Pickett's, your Emily Kensholes, Laura Sporanovic, and then from what we were hearing was there's not enough Geelong people in the team, right? but we needed to be competitive.
Mm-hmm.
But the team was 70% Geelong,
Mm.
so it was still there. And then once we got relegated from NPL, it was a difficult task to get players to come across, because you're at one stage you're dangling a carrot for the highest division, and then after that, no good. And that's how one of the reasons why we didn't get players. But support from outside, I think you'll find, because Galaxy is a what would you call it, a consortium team, as in like how the A-League sort of was.
Yep.
It had people who were loyal, and still does have people, even myself, who are loyal to other local clubs.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, when your daughters stop playing, well, you're going to follow your daughter where she goes. So that I found hard, but that's what I found. But trying to encourage and get support, I think it's just Geelong's support for women's football in general. There's not a lot of crowds at women's games, from what I've seen this season. And I mean, going back to what I've forgotten his name, sorry, and I apologise, your last guest,
Michael Parker from Armstrong United.
From Armstrong Creek, that's correct. You don't want to go and see your local women's team get absolutely belted, and your players don't want to go there and be belted. So I agree with him. I think there needs to be a common sense approach to women's football in Geelong. There's not everybody's here for participation, but there is obviously participation numbers are fantastic, but there needs to be a league where people want to win.
Yeah. It has to cater for all levels, whether it is at the bottom end where it's purely social
approach to it.
Yeah. And look, we asked Michael, if he came across a Genie's bottle down at Eastern Beach, and Genie came out and granted him 3 wishes. What would he want for the region? For women's football, and you've seen a lot of it being involved, quite a fair bit. What would you like to see? Not necessarily 3 wishes granted, but what would you, Rob, as an outgoing head coach of Geelong's high-strength senior women's team, what would you like to see implemented over the next, say, 18 to 24 months leading up to the Women's World Cup here in Australia for our region in terms of women's football development? On field, off field, whatever the case may be.
Well, number one for junior development for me would be, we need to get free or government funded for coaching skill acquisition programs for the kids, so it's all free and everyone's able to achieve and reach the targets that they want to achieve. So I think a little bit more government funding to support all players to make it so that the standard raised all across the area. Number 2, I think we need to understand that not every player is here for participation. This is what would help Galaxy. There needs to be an outlet for players, whether it be once a year we bring in a North Geelong, West Geelong, South Geelong, East Geelong group. You have 4 coaches select players from each corner of the area and have an inter-Geelong regional, what do you call it, round robin,
like a gala day or something like that. You're talking about,
a gala day for the club, for the players, the best players from each club, to get put in a shop window. And then blue sky, which would be amazing, would be to get a regional facility like Ballarat's. The likes of your NPL outlets, Galaxy, VPL outlet, Galaxy United need to be playing on a good surface. North Geelong Warriors, they could potentially put 2,000 to 5,000 people inside that stadium when they're playing teams. I mean, I've been down to Alco Park and the atmosphere's great down there, depending on who they're playing. Geelong Soccer Club's the same. Corio could use it. That would be for me.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you there, mate. If you had each week a Friday night, say for example, or a Saturday night, the game of the round, and it didn't matter who it was, but and you can always do some sort of deals where they've got the cut of the gate, or they've got the cut of the canteen, or they run their own canteen. If it was a neutral venue with great undercover spectator seating like what they've got at Ballarat. Maybe on a slightly bigger scale. I know Councillor Kylie Grisbeck has talked about having a 5,000-seater showcase stadium and then smaller stadiums and things like that. You'd have the whole football community in Geelong going out to watch just whatever, just because it's an opportunity to sort of catch up with people from other clubs. It would be absolutely festive each week in, week out. Didn't matter who was playing, but I agree with you, mate, and that's. I'd love to see that happen.
Because I'm one of those spectators that doesn't really wear a badge because I'm originally from Melbourne, and I'll find myself on a weekend watching Geelong play, watching Surf Coast play, watching Corio play, watching whoever. So to have one facility where you can grab your kid on Friday night, go down, have a chavapi roll, drink a nice latte, and watch, the three Geelong teams belt the shit out of Melbourne would be amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that,
we take ourselves until we want to reach for the stars. We're not going to get to Melbourne's level unless we try to do better than Melbourne now.
Yeah, and here's once again, I'm going to bring him up, another Melbourne person, and the president of Caroline Springs, George Cross, Mark Sultana. He's got some really, really good he's got some very, very good words to say. We don't lobby together. That's the biggest thing. We don't do things together where everyone sort of seems to be too interested in their own little micro environment to think about the bigger picture. And it's certainly I can't understand the fact that we are the second biggest city in Victoria, yet Ballarat, Shepparton, Bendigo, they've got better football facilities than what we have here in Geelong. And yet we've got, I think I counted it, last count, we had something like 54 or 55 senior men's teams. If we're going to look at all the NPL, the State League, the local competition teams as well, 54, 55 senior men's teams. And then up until a few years ago, we had about 26 or something like that senior women's teams strewn all over the various competitions. That's a lot. That is a lot, and we should be working a lot more closer together. But we're not.
We're a big region. We deserve our regional facility.
Yeah.
And I do get where people sit there and they'll go, not people, but the general public will sit there and go, well, if we build this facility, and I'm only using names, not fact, it'll be Surf Coast home ground. It'll be North Geelong's home ground. Whereas we're all fighting for the scraps off the FFE's plate, whereas together we could get a filet mignon.
Yeah.
if we join forces. Yeah.
Yeah, I think and that's an example of what Mark's been saying in the comments as well, with the clubs all uniting together a common cause. If we could just get all of our clubs in the region all together going at it. And I think as well, like you said, about getting people to go along and watch those games each week. There's also a lot of people that follow football very closely on TV, but they would never go to a local game. It would also get those people more likely to get along and think, well, actually, that's not bad. I might, become a regular attendee. Rob, what's the future in store for you? How are you going to cope with not spending all of those hours preparing the Galaxy squads each week with training and cope without that? And what are you going to have for your football involvement next year?
Well, to go straight off the bat, I've gone from 7 days a week to 0. So that's been a shock.
Cold turkey
in itself. Yeah, but look, I really do need a breather. I've had a couple of offers from other clubs already, but I really do need a rest. So all I'll more than likely do next season is give Will a chop out, my son Will, just help him out a little bit at Geelong. He's playing for Geelong at the moment. So yeah, I'll help him out, and then I don't know, maybe if I get the itch to coach again, I'll have a crack at it. But yeah, at the moment, I just really need to have a breather because COVID's been terrible. I mean, business has been incredibly hard with the COVID shutdowns because you're not getting any walk-in traffic. So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, mate. Whatever you decide to do next year, we certainly wish you all the very, very best. And it looks like that the Maltese lobby is already working hard. Mark Sultana says, come and have lunch with me at Georgie's down at George Cross Football Club. And I'm sure you can renew old acquaintances there. Maltese Rabbit.
Maltese Rabbit.
There you go.
Yeah.
So,
I spent many a good weekend down at Chaplin Reserve before they moved.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you were an old Altona Northman, were you? Is that where you started off? Yep.
Life
there
member.
you go. There you go, life member. Mate, we're very happy to have your input into the in what is required in the local game. And certainly thank you very much for all your support over the last few years. And we certainly haven't heard the last of Rob CASHA, that's for sure, mate. Once again, thank you very much and wishing you all the very best for whatever you decide to do in 2022.
Thanks, guys. And look, thanks for the support you gave me in the time that I was in the job. And as soon as I'm going to move on to something new, I'll let you know.
Absolutely fantastic. Good on you.
Thanks, Rob. Most welcome,
Cheers.
mate. Thank you.
Bye.
Rob CASHA, the outgoing senior head coach of the Galaxy United Football Club. Mate, that brings us to pretty much to the end of our program, tonight's program. But, mate, next week we have got an absolute perler of a show. Did you want to let the cat out of the bag, Steve?
What's a clue? Well, we might be bailing up our audience next week, perhaps. Is that a good clue? So we're going to have Roy Hay coming on the show with a special historic themed episode. We're going to be talking about past clubs of the region that we might have forgotten that we're going to touch on. And, well, who knows where we'll end up, hey?
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, I'm sort of not that old, so I probably don't remember the post-war era. Well, I wasn't around when that happened, but there was a lot of
Let's see how
Dutch
far back
clubs,
we can go. Let's maybe before the wars.
So the Dutch clubs were very strong back in the 50s and 60s, I'm told. There was a lot of there was a Croatian-backed club in Geelong before North Geelong Warriors. Believe it or not. Roy Hay will tell us a bit more about that. And then more in recent times, and we had Joe Ormino, the chief executive officer of the Gordon, on our show a couple of months back, and he talked about how he played for Espanyol, Geelong Espanyol, a Spanish community-based backed club, which no longer is around. And there have been other clubs like the Lovely Banks Kiev, the local Ukrainian community. And there was even a Greek-based club, Geelong Olympic, as well. So there are many, many clubs. Brinton's, the club out where Breakwater Eagles are now.
Breakwater,
used to be the old, I think the British club or something like that. So, yeah, there's going to be some really interesting trips down memory lane next week. Roy Hay will be on the show next week. Hopefully we'll also have some I'm not sure about video footage, but we'll certainly have some old photos from a lot of those that era. And tell you what, it's going to be very, very, very exciting. So we look forward to that next Monday night at 7 p.m. But in the meantime, Steve, 7 p.m. Sunday night, the Football Out West show. We've got some big guests for that as well.
Yeah, we have. Have we got them written down somewhere? I don't have them on me.
Zach Gruevski, the outgoing president from...
Are they going to come back on? That's right.
And Mark Sultana as well from Caroline Springs, who's tuning into our show tonight and has been very active.
That's right.
On the comment section. They will be both...
and Jason Zeri as well from St Albans.
And Jason Zeri from St Albans, the football director there. So we're going to have the clubs that are seeking promotion, the clubs that are trying to avoid relegation, and no doubt we'll have all the latest information as to what is going to happen with the competition structures for 2022 in the Football Victoria administered leagues. Mate, it's been a big one. I didn't think it was going to go this long, but it's almost gone for the full 90 minutes.
Yeah, we've gone 25 minutes over our run sheet here. So lucky we're not at FNR anymore, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. Folks, thank you very much for joining us tonight, and do consider becoming a member and supporting the Geelong Region Soccer Show. There's the website, www.patreon.com/ Geelong Region Soccer Show. Any help is greatly appreciated for as little as $15 a month, as much as $25 a month. Not a lot, but we really need your support and help and appreciate any support you give us. That's good night from all of us. Good night.
Good night.